Okay, thank you. Well, I'll call to order this meeting of the WES Advisory Committee, and welcome everyone, and we'll do the roll call, Chris.
All right, thanks, Greg. Rita Baker.
Present.
Councillor Brake.
Present.
Richard Craven.
Present.
Greg DiLoretto.
Here.
Tony Fields.
Present.
William Gifford.
Here.
I don't, just kind of scan in the room here real quick. Brian Johnson. I see you. I see your mouth moving. I'm going to count it.
There we go. There we go.
Sounds good. Now we can hear you. Michael Morrow.
Here.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We're only at, or not quite at quorum, so let's
Chris
give it
Brown.
just a couple more minutes.
Christina Brown.
Did you miss Christine?
I totally missed you, Christina. I'm so sorry, Christina Brown.
It's like here.
And I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, David just hopped on, Chris.
Yeah, David came on.
Oh, okay, great. Councillor Golby.
Here. Sorry, I was having
Perfect.
a hard time getting logged in.
No worries. Happy to have you. All right, we officially now have quorum. So
Great. All right, welcome everyone, and we'll go ahead and get started. This will probably be a little shorter meeting. Or not. Anyway, next we'll go to director updates. And hey, where's Greg? Oh, there he is.
Hi.
Greg, you're up.
Great. Chris, you were going to bring up a slide or two, I think. And by the way, Kat Miller and Renee Harbor were unable to join us tonight. So believe it or not, this is our last meeting of the calendar year. And since we have staggered appointments, there will be a few of you that are scheduled to, your terms expire at the end of the year. So I'll be calling you next week to hopefully cajole you into continuing your service to WES. So expect that. Next slide. So last month, in September, we did a tour of our outfall after our, sorry, I'm getting a text message from Denise. Anyway, which was super fun. And I'll give you a quick outfall update. Well, actually, I'll wait for a future slide to do that. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. And if we want to do it again, please let us know. It's an incredibly complex engineering project and a pretty massive endeavor for us. So we're super pleased about that. We've also been doing lots of tours of our facility, including one with City of West Lynn, Councillor Breik and Councillor Baumgardner and the city manager and the public works director, as well as various Rotary clubs. And anyway, we've been having a lot of fun since the last meeting. Next slide. So a quick update for Clackamal, and please jump in anytime. So we are officially 1,605 feet or 67% along the way of the journey. And if you look at the kind of upper mid left portion, we and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but we knew that at some point during the journey, we would be transitioning from a fairly, flat tunneling in a certain type of rock to taking a deeper dive into a different rock layer. And so we hardened an area of a space for the tunnel boring machine to bore into, so that it can pull back a little bit, because basically once it gets going, it has to keep going. Otherwise, if it backed up, the material in front of it would collapse. So we hardened an area, they bored into it, pulled it back a bit, retooled the machine to be more suitable for the geologic material that we're going to be working through. And now they're back on their journey. So it's so far, so good. The easy part, quote, easy part is kind of done. And now we're entering a more challenging time. And also we're also preparing for the in-water retrieval of the tunnel boring machine in probably early November. And so that you'll see barges and things on the river preparing a platform for the tunnel boring machine to come out and land on, so that we can then bring over a barge and a crane to retrieve it. Anything to add, Jeff?
Nope, you covered it well.
All right, next slide. So the other thing we mentioned was, we've had, I think, 4 different fractures basically in a force main, our Bolton force main, that goes from the Bolton pump station in Westland along the river, across the river, and then into our collection system that leads to Tri-City over the past few years. And so we were pretty nervous about the overall condition of that pipeline, which was installed in the 1980s. And so we did the smart pigging, which I think I mentioned before. We did get the results back from that, and there were 6 areas where the smart pig said that we had potential problems or even holes in the pipeline. We've investigated 3 of those so far, and all 3 have come up what we call dry. I'll show you a picture of that next, but so far so good. And bottom line is, information is knowledge, or power, I guess. And so we've gone from a reactive kind of approach to that. And one of the things that used to keep me up at night was the condition of that pipeline, to a more proactive approach. And we're very pleased about that. And as part of that project, we had to get supplemental water, fire hydrants, coordinate. There was a park trail that needed to be closed. And the Westland, I just want to give a shout out to the Westland staff for helping on that. That was a huge collaborative effort. So thank you. Anything else on that, Jeff? Nope. All right. And then, yeah, so these are just some of the pictures that our field crews have taken. Actually, I took the one on the right because I was out there checking it out. And the areas that the pig said could be problematic, we found that to be, still intact, which is great. And I would much rather have a report that comes back and says, we could have these problems, and then not, than have a report that comes back saying, we don't have any problems, and then we continue to do that. So I feel like we're on really solid ground when it comes to that pipeline. Next slide.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, sure.
With the pig, do we have, this is a false positive, right? But do we have any idea about like what the rates of false negatives are, or like what are the chances that there could be something there and it would miss? Do we have any idea how good it is at detecting things that are there?
I see Jeff taking off his headphones here.
Yeah, sorry, my headphones just died. I don't know that we know a rate, but we are in the areas, these ones were out in the park area. We backfilled them. There's a couple more we're investigating that are not kind of seasonally dependent, and we're gonna do a little bit more investigation on them with some exterior ultrasonic thickness measurements to go around the pipe and stuff to make sure we're not missing something. Clearly the data shows there's something, but when we dig them up, we're not finding it. So we're going to do some sounding with some hammer, and also do some ultrasonic to see, I'll have to get back to you on kind of what a potential rate would be for a false positive or a false negative. I know in addition to kind of these offsets, as they call them, of, hey, there's a gap in our surface data here that doesn't align with a blow off or an air relief or something of those natures. That's what these are.
Mm-hmm.
It also told us a lot about the thickness. We do have sections that have, 40% wall loss inside this pipe. So it's not something that we won't need to maintain and do stuff to, but going out and digging these up, if we had a hole, we wanted to know before winter that, hey, we have a hole that's leaking out here. And so that was our approach for now. We're going to do some more in the areas where it's next to a road where we can dig it up and kind of have it out open for more time rather than in a park situation. So we're
Yeah.
going to do more investigation in other areas. But as of yet, we've not been, I don't want to call it unsuccessful because it's successful that we're not finding leaks, but we haven't correlated an offset with what we're finding when we dig it up.
And Jeff, maybe we can just send Christina the report. I mean, we have kind of a cool Google Maps video that shows the wall loss percentage along the entire path, whether it's green or yellow or red. So yeah, I think that would be
Perfect.
happy to
Yeah.
share that.
Yeah, we can do that. Chris, I don't know if you want to get with Jessica and we can send that out to everybody.
Not a problem.
Yeah. We'll just send it to the group. Yep.
It might be too large. It might end up being a link.
I can
to
Dropbox it.
yeah,
No problem.
Dropbox folder because it's a big file.
Yeah. Great.
I see William has his hand up, maybe.
Denise had hers.
And Mayor McGriff. Oh yeah, Mayor McGriff. I see that as well. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were calling on William. Anyway, was there an expectation that there was going to be a failure in this pipe, or is it the pipe's problem, or were there external factors that was causing it to have leaks?
So, well, I'll start and Jeff can finish.
Thank you, Jeff.
What we found is, so we've had several problems with those pipes, and they tend to be at where we change angles, at like where we make a 33 degree or so 22-degree change going downhill, and it would abrade the pipe and have problems. And so that's mostly what we were looking at. There's also an area that because of some potential like electrolysis, electrical metal to degradation of the pipe that we're also investigating. But generally it's just the normal, I guess, wear and tear of pipes where water hits a surface, coming down. But sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up. The reason we're diving into this pipe is because we've had some failures in this pipe. Obviously it was all bought and built at the same time. And so sometimes you wonder, is there a manufacturing issue as to what's going on, or is there something else? How far spread is there issues? And I think what we found is there's some data things that we're digging through and identifying, but overall the pipe's in better shape than I guess we would have thought. But to Greg's point, that picture there where there's a pipe right up next to our pipe, what can happen sometimes is, you think about cathodic protection, you put a zinc anode in your hot water heater that readily gives up electrons and conductivity. And so our pipe could be a sink to that pipe, quite frankly, just depending on what the material of that other pipe is. That's a gas pipe. And so a lot of times if those are metal, they're stainless. And so sometimes our pipe could then artificially be given up basically material to protect the other pipe. And so that is something that two crossings had found things. And so that's where we're going to do a little bit more investigation to figure out what's going on out there. That answer your question?
It just didn't seem like it was that old. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then William?
Would you be so kind as to go to the previous slide? I'm not able to orient myself here. What are we looking? Where is this?
So the green line where the pig received, kind of on the east side of the river, is the Clackamas Park. That's the RV park right there. And then so it crosses underneath the river and then hugs the river side there, and it goes through River Street in Westland and then routes through the park to Bolton Street in Westland.
So where's the Clackamas River then?
All right. That's the confluence of the Clackamas is up just a little right there. That's the cove there right next to it. So this was a picture taken in, obviously very low flows in the Clackamas.
Yeah, the cursor right now is on close to Highway 99.
Yes.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
That's the Highway 99 bridge over the Clackamas.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Nope, actually, that is the McCullough Bridge over the Clackamas.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, it was also designed by Condi B. McCullough, the same guy that did the Arch Bridge.
Okay.
Interesting. Wow.
Yes. That's a Gladstone fun fact.
Love it.
All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, next slide. Okay, so we did this one. Next slide. So we finished up our 6th year of, or was it 6? I think it's 5. I forget. Several years of our partnership with Solve at High Rocks and the Waterways Cleanup event. We had a total of over the summer of 1,461 volunteers, and we collected over 28,000 pounds of garbage, which was amazing. And we got over 300 pounds at that particular event at High Rocks, which was pretty cool. It appeared to be pretty clean when we got there, and I was a little bit anxious, like, are we going to have enough work for these, volunteers to do? But oh, 7th year, Alexis says. But yeah, they did a great job, got over 300 pounds of trash, and another year in the books. All right, next slide. So we did, actually, this is our 6th year of doing the Oregon City Business Alliance Water Forum. And this year was focused on drinking water. And so we had our partners from our drinking water partner, Clackamas River Water, and others there to talk about the importance of drinking water and the future of drinking water and the importance of water reuse and One Water. And it was great. One thing and we've talked about the Carly Creek project a number of times in the past, but I just wanted to remind people that the before picture is, essentially what that farm looked like. It was farmed by a family for over 100 years, tabletop flat, and the Carly Creek itself, which would be on the left side of the before picture, had been essentially ditched. And so we went in and we created a 15-acre treatment wetland, engineered treatment wetlands, the big blue elephant in the middle, and also restored Carly Creek, well over 1,000 feet of Carly Creek, and plumbed or replumbed well over 400 acres of Clackamas industrial area land that had been, developed and piped from a stormwater perspective for years with, no treatment into Carly Creek and into the Clackamas River. The after picture is a more recent one, and so it's clearly, coming into maturity and effectively treating those 400 acres of industrial lands. And one thing, I don't know if I've shared with this group or not, but it was literally weeks after that facility was finished that there was an industrial fire in the Clackamas industrial area that, firefighting foam, chemical spill. It was pretty grim. And our facility captured that before it got into the Clackamas River or Carly Creek. And the reminder was, and the connection with our drinking water and the whole One Water was that, this facility is above 4 different drinking water intakes that serve hundreds of thousands of people in Clackamas County. So when we talk about these projects that we do and why we do them, it's important. And again, it's working in partnership, collaboration with our drinking water partners and a One Water approach to the Clackamas River. And I think that might be it. Oh, I wanted to also mention the WES Winter event. So we had a really great summer party this year, and we're going to have a winter event on December 12th from 11 to 1.
December 11th.
Oh, sorry, December 11th, 11 to 1 at our Tri-City treatment facility. And you are all invited, and we'll get you more information on that.
Yes.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Move on to the next item unless there are any more questions. And that would be the approval of the September minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Didn't know we took motions for them.
I would so
Well,
move.
it's been requested that we do, so we're going to.
I would so move.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second? All right. I got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
nay. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, minutes are approved. Chris, do we have any public comment?
If there's anybody from the public that'd like to comment, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Then we will move on to the River Health Grant Annual Report. And Gail, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Hello, everybody. I'm Gail Shalom. I'm a natural resources scientist with WES. I've worked at WES since 2011, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about the River Health Stewardship Grant Program. Let's see, next slide, please. So just a quick overview of what the grant program is all about. This grant program supports community groups, businesses, and property owners who want to improve the health of watersheds that are within the surface water areas managed by WES. Which hopefully all of you know that's not exactly the same boundary as the sanitary sewer areas that we serve. This program was created by a Board of County Commissioners resolution in 2013 that basically authorized the WES director to spend the money and budget the money for the program and approve the grants every year, as long as we report back to them at the end of each year on our accomplishments. So that is what the report in your packet is all about. I think it's the last 4 pages of your packet. This program is funded by the surface water fees paid by our ratepayers. It started out at about $152,000 in 2013, and it has gone up to about $300,000 a year now. And some of the ways that it improves watershed health, basically enhancing riparian functions, which largely is removing and treating weeds in riparian areas along rivers and streams and planting native vegetation, or increasing the width of that streamside buffer. Different kinds of activities that will reduce pollutants and volumes of runoff from paved surfaces. So that could be removing pavement, that could be installing low impact development approaches like rain gardens and swales, and also educating the public on what they can do to improve water quality. Next slide, please. Okay, the purpose of the program first is to help us meet our permit requirements. So we have requirements both through our municipal stormwater permit as well as our total maximum daily loads that have different requirements for either providing shade on streams or educating the public about specific topics. And these grants really help us to do that. The purpose is also to involve the community in our work. The hope is that if people participate in some of these projects, they'll get to know and appreciate the streams and rivers that are right in their own neighborhoods, maybe take some ownership because they've participated in a volunteer event, and motivate them to want to change their behaviors in their daily lives that can help us to keep the water quality in good condition. And last, we have a pretty small staff in the watershed protection group, so these grants really also help us get our work done, help us meet our goals. Next slide, please. Some of the types of organizations that are eligible for these grants are community groups, nonprofits, businesses, sometimes property owners. Each grant can be up to $30,000 for an organization for the year. Again, their eligible areas are within the watersheds that are served by the WES Surface Water Program. And the schedule is generally that we take applications in the spring and the grants run with the fiscal year. Next slide. So we generally post our program guide that gives all of the information and instructions, tells how the grants are the applications will be scored, all of that information on our website, and we distribute it far and wide as we can. Generally, we get that out in February. The proposals each year are due in April. And then we have a selection committee that's made up of 4 or 5 staff people plus 2 advisory committee members. So Rita Baker and Christopher Bowker have provided that very important function. And we do lots of reading. We read all of the grant proposals, score them on our own, and then we get together and discuss our scores and try to go through the difficult process of making our selections. The program has gotten more competitive as time has gone on, and at this point, we usually are able to fund about 3/4 of the proposals. Next slide, please. These are some examples of the types of projects that we fund. I would say far and away, the majority of projects do consist of riparian restoration. So that's usually removing weeds, treating weeds that are along rivers and streams, replacing that with native vegetation that provides some great functions. A lot of the work is done through volunteers, volunteer planting events. These organizations can spend some of their time doing outreach to recruit the next group of landowners to make sure they kind of constantly have a pipeline of projects to do. And some of the funding also goes toward educational events. Some of the properties that are worked on, they could be public spaces, but the majority of them are private properties, which are very difficult for us to work on as a government agency. So it's really great to have these nonprofit groups take that on. Several of them are open spaces owned by homeowners associations. We've had a few businesses involved over the years, and we're always trying to boost that involvement. We've also funded some stream cleanup events, and then a couple of sort of one-offs or oddball projects like an erosion and sediment control plan that was done for one community. Next slide. Okay, I think I have 2 projects to highlight here. This first one is a project done by Friends of Trees. They call it their Watershed Stewardship Project. This particular site at Windswept Waters Homeowners Association is adjacent to a natural area that WES owns. We call it the Rock Creek Confluence Site, right at the mouth of Rock Creek where it enters into the Clackamas River. And we always appreciate having restoration projects done adjacent to our natural areas to provide a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of protection against those invasive species that inevitably come in urban places. So Friends of Trees worked with this homeowners association and other volunteers to basically plant a lot of trees in this buffer. You can see in the picture to the right, that's the Clackamas River behind this group of people. And you can see there are some trees along the riverbank, but not a lot. It's not a really dense buffer. And so getting a denser buffer, a wider buffer of additional native vegetation is going to provide a lot of benefits to the water quality in the Clackamas. The trees intercept some of the rain. They can minimize and slow the runoff. They provide some shade to keep the water cool. They also filter runoff that comes by overland flow. Not too far up the hill from where these folks are standing is a roadway. And so, you know, the dense network of roads and homes that are in the development, the runoff that comes from that can be filtered by some of the trees and soils. They also improve the composition of the soil and, of course, provide habitat. So the Friends of Trees project also included restoration at 3 other sites. And one of those included working with students at both Sabin-Schellenberg High School and Oregon Trail Elementary School. Next slide, please. All right, Happy Valley Natural Area Restoration. This project was led by a retired forester who lives in Happy Valley Heights Homeowners Association. And it consists of natural area restoration in riparian areas at 4 different homeowners associations. So Dale Gunther, the forester who's managed this project, has really made himself a resource to his neighbors. A lot of homeowners associations have sort of heard about our program and heard about Dale, and he has helped some other HOAs get involved. On one of those sites, as you can see here, they use these friendly goats to remove invasive species, which is just a great example of how to do that without using herbicides. Also attracted a lot of attention, as you can imagine. The public driving by, walking by, seeing this herd of goats in the riparian area, you know, were very interested. So it caught their attention. And then this group of residents worked on, I believe it's a total of about 18 acres. So combination of removing weeds and planting natives once again. Next slide. So toward the end of your packet is a copy of our annual report. And in the past, we've mostly included a bunch of metrics that we report to the Board of County Commissioners. And this year, one of our advisory committee members suggested that we spend some time trying to make it a little more user-friendly instead of just a bunch of numbers. So watch out when you make a recommendation, because we may tap you to help. We may recruit you like we did with Rita Baker. And so she attended some of the grant-funded volunteer events. She took pictures and she wrote some of her impressions that are included in that report. And I would like to invite Rita to unmute and share whatever you'd like to share with the group about your experience.
Well, thank you, Gail. One of the things that attracted me to participate in the committee are all the various natural environmental things that WES is contributing to. So in the mission statement, it talks about preserving the natural environment, why we're here, environmental education, standing for stewardship and healthy watersheds. And, you know, there's a lot of money and a lot of community effort going out that, unfortunately, I don't think the public is as aware of it as they could be. And I know that Shelley Perini before and Alexa now and have done a great job. But to me, it's important that people understand the stories, as Gail says, beyond the metrics of who these folks are. And we are very blessed to have the staff we do at WES, but most of these events are on the weekends, and you know, they have to have a life-work balance. So it's been a privilege for me to go out and meet these folks and talk to them, and you know, basically praise their efforts because they might be unsung heroes in their own communities. So as an example, the goat story was particularly amusing to me because the time I spent there, as Gail said, people were coming by and looking and intrigued by what was happening. And that's important too, because while goats are cute, what they were doing had some very important environmental benefits. And it was a very steep area. So it's not something that you can take the mechanical works down there and clear out. Plus, you don't want the herbicides if you can avoid it into the water if you can. So I thank you so much for this chance, and I'm going to have a go at it again with the coming grant recipients. And I'd encourage anybody who wanted to go see what is happening in our community to also join in.
Great,
That's
thanks,
it.
Rita. All right.
Where can we see this report?
Oh, the report is in your packet. I believe it's the last few pages of your packet.
Thank you.
And we have just a couple more slides, if we could go to the next slide. Here is just a list of the accomplishments of this program since the inception in 2013. So we've got 10 years under our belt, and starting to make some real progress. And next slide, Chris. And then how you can get involved. The volunteer events that are funded by the grants, we list those on the county events calendar. So this QR code will take you to that calendar. The website is also listed there, clackamas.us/events. And you will see a combination of, planting parties and webinars. So I would encourage everyone to take a look and see if you can find something that interests you and encourage you to participate, whether it's getting out there with your muscles and planting trees or sitting back at home and learning something at a webinar. And I believe last slide. Thank you very much to the selection committee that helps screen and score the proposals. It is a pretty intense time commitment for a few weeks in May. And it's, as I mentioned, a combination of staff. Thank you to Rita Baker and Christopher Bowker for their time and participation. And thanks to Ron for his guidance on the program. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Gail. That is a fascinating program and really, really great when you think about the community coming together instead of just having a staff program. It really does mean something. We have a hand up. Christina, do you have your hand up or you're just clapping because it was a good deal? It's a good deal. Okay.
Just clapping.
Okay. Any questions for Gail? Okay, well, I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Gail, again. Fascinating.
Thanks.
Let's move on to our capital improvement plan summary. You'll recall that we've heard this now previous meeting. We've read this. So tonight we'll follow up. Jeff will give just a very brief summary of it, and then we can have a discussion, and depending on your mood, if you agree, we will look for a motion to recommend this to the Board of County Commissioners. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who's going to give us a brief update.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. These slides should be very familiar. They were part of the presentation we gave in September. And I'll have some, and then Aaron will have some, and then we'll have time for questions. Next slide. So just a reminder, this is one of 4 of our core strategies. These are all I call them 4 legs of a chair, however you want to call it. They're all equally important to kind of the direction of our organization, not only in kind of our day-to-day, but also our long-term planning and how we think about what we're doing. And so this is one of 4 of those plans. And then kind of a summary of the update from this year, from last year's CIP, the adopted CIP, to what we're proposing as our annual update. So we updated all the project cost estimates. This was based on Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index or updated cost estimates we've received as we've refined the design or advanced the design for it as we know more information. We've adjusted the timing for the upper and lower Clackamas interceptor projects. This is based on financial and hydraulic modeling information we've gotten over the last few years. We've adjusted the timing of the pump station and force main. We were originally planning to build that all at one time. We're going to build it pump station and then the force main. They'll be not at the same time, but one after the other. The Tri-City Influent Pump Station project had a significant increase in cost, largely due to the increase in electrical scope. That's one of those, as you refine the design, you find more that needed to be done based on what we need to accomplish there than was planned for. We've completely redesigned the project detail sheets from a layout and additional information. The big adder, I think, is really around the cost tracking. So we're trying to present kind of how the costs of the project change over time from planning through design through construction. And then one of the things I found when we were in looking at the cost estimates was we were double counting markups on the Kellogg digester project. And so we've removed those from that. So those are the major changes from last year to this year. Next slide. And just a reminder, our CIP annual spending starting in 25-26 will be 43.8 million, and then 55.8 million in 26-27, 46 million. 46.2 and 27-28, 39.9 and 28-29, and 30.1 and 29-30. So as you can see, we still have a lot of projects to deliver and a lot of money that we're planning on spending to get our system into from just to address condition, but also capacity issues we have identified as part of our plans. Next slide, we'll talk about stormwater. So in the surface water, we have 7.6 million in 25-26. The big spend there is the Three Creeks project, and then we have 3.8, 3.9, 4.8, and 4 in subsequent years. And so still a pretty decent increase in surface water spending than what we have historically done. But definitely a big lift in the next fiscal year. And just an update on that, we are heading out to bid with that Three Creeks project, and so we'll have some information coming back in the near future from some real bid costs on that project, which will be really exciting to understand how contractors view that project as well as compared to what our engineers view it as. So, and then I'll let Aaron update on the financial.
Right. Thanks, Jeff. So as part of our commitment to long-term financial viability, we maintain and continually refine a 10-year financial plan that's based on input from and work that we've done with this committee. The strategies outlined here are the key components used in our financial planning, and they're designed to balance investing in essential infrastructure with the goal to maintain affordable rates. Financing the proposed CIP requires that we control our operating costs and leverage various resources, including our existing reserves, available SDCs, debt financing, and grants. Next slide, please. This table highlights the major financial components we used in modeling the rate impacts based on the proposed CIP. The 5-year CIP totals in the top row are unindexed. For financial modeling, we index those costs annually, and we're using 3% based on the 10-year rolling average from the Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index. We're continuing to project 1% surface area growth based on our most recent population study, and projecting no more than 5% annual increases in operating and maintenance costs for the first 2 years of the plan, and bringing that down to about 4.3% in the outer years of the plan based on an assumption that inflationary pressures will continue to cool. Funding for the CIP relies on a combination of user charges, system development charges, and debt proceeds, as you can see in the chart about 2/3 of the way down the slide. As mentioned at the September meeting, current system development charge eligible projects on the sewer side exceed available resources. So in those cases, we'll be using debt financing to deliver the projects when needed, and then we'll repay the eligible debt with SDCs as those come in. We are planning to update our SDC methodologies based on this CIP once it's adopted, but for now, modeling assumptions assumed inflationary SDC increases only. And looking ahead, we anticipate 5% annual rate increases, which aligns with guidance from this committee and ensures that we can fully fund the proposed CIP. All right, back to you, Jeff.
Question?
Yes.
Excuse me, on the SDCs, does WES make recommendations that need to be approved by the BCC?
For setting the SDC rates?
Or we just issue a fiat, say that's what our SDCs are going to be?
So we do take the proposal to the board each year. And for the past several years, since the last time we updated the methodology, it's been inflationary only based on the Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index, which is a statutory adjustment allowed. We're not sure what the proposed increases would be based on this CIP. We anticipate they'll be quite a bit higher than what we have currently, since last time we did the methodology update, it projected $13,000 SDCs, and we obviously didn't adopt rates that high based on this committee's guidance and the board's appetite for balancing kind of a smart growth pace for growth, but remaining competitive in terms of attracting development.
But it still needs the blessing of the BCC.
Yes, absolutely. They need to approve any increases.
One other question. You talk about a 10-year plan, 10-year financial plan, and I try to think farther out than that, trying to imagine a scenario when we have our CIP done and put to bed, we will still have ongoing maintenance And eventually we'll have to replace even more plant. I understand that. But we'll never be finished, as I understand it.
Yeah,
In glide mode to say, okay, well, we got everything we need now.
that's absolutely correct. And our financial model actually goes out 30 years, but
Okay.
we only have capital costs for currently 11 years. So when we talk about our formal financial plan, it's 10 years because we have all of the data really for those 10 years. When we get further out, it's really just operating costs and debt service, and then continued projections to revenue increases. But we are looking as far out as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, William. Mayor McGriff?
It's not so much a question, but I just wanted to, as I've gone through this again for the second time, I wanted to make the staff very aware. You already know this. So we obviously in Oregon City have a lot of old buildings, and we've been trying to provide some assistance, both technical and financial, where we can for some of our businesses who are small businesses who are trying to rehab older buildings. And I can tell you that the WES charges are just off the chart for some of these people. And they are going to basically put a kibosh on people doing projects because they can't afford it. And I don't know if there's anything that WES has that helps people spread the cost out over time or defray the cost, or whether there's any grant funding that they could be used. But it was frightening to me when I saw some of these numbers come up. And so people are not going to be interested in doing any rehab. So I just want you to be aware that that is a significant problem in our jurisdiction.
So I guess I'll take that one.
I'm not saying that there's an answer. I don't know if there's an answer.
Yeah, well, I suspect the issue is system development charges, and if they're going to take a building and add capacity to it, that would increase the impact on our sewer system. So I'd be happy to talk to you about that anytime.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's just a problem just for me to be talking to you about it. It's a problem that I think this advisory committee needs to be very aware of, and maybe they're already aware of it and it's not a problem for them. But I'm just saying that in our jurisdiction, you've got buildings that have probably been vacant for a long time. So yes, they're going to be increasing the capacity. So because the building has been underutilized and they want to put something in it like an office, or, heaven forbid that they would put in a restaurant. So it's a problem. I just don't have an answer for it. And I just hear this. I've been hearing this constantly since I've been on this group. And I thought, oh, that's not really true. And so I looked at our SDCs and I looked at, the calculation that our staff is doing. And, it made my hair almost turn the same color as Carol's hair. That's and your hair is gorgeous, Carol, by the way. And I just said, oh, yeah, okay.
So maybe
I just don't know what to do about it.
Well, I think we should have a discussion about SDCs because it's not just us. It's roads, it's parks, it's.
No, I said I looked at everything, but the lion's share of the SDC hurt from a particular applicant I was trying to work with was WES. And so I asked the city, I said, give me some other calculations that you've done recently. Let me just randomly pick some stuff. And they did 3 or 4 different projects. And I was like, oh, gave me some heart palpitations. So I'm just making people in this group aware that there's, stuff, there's, blank is hitting the fan.
Yes. So we are going to be presenting this 5-year CIP to the board in, I think, either December or maybe January. And so once we have this CIP approved, then we can have a conversation. And I've promised the board that we'll have a conversation about SDCs and where we are, where we are relative to our peers and what is reasonable. And before I do that with the board, we will have that conversation here. So we will have a conversation. I don't know if it'll be February or February, March, before I go to the board and propose new SDCs moving forward, we will have a conversation here. I promise you that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Just a quick summary and kind of what our next steps would be. So the 26 to 30, the 5-year CIP as presented, carries $216 million on the wastewater and $24.3 million over 5 years on the surface water. We did receive comments from Greg DiLoretto, and incorporated his comments into this. I gave this presentation also to the technical advisory team. The presentation I gave in September, Aaron and I gave that to the technical advisory team as well, and presented this information to all the members of that as well, and shared the CIP. We're going to request a motion of support, and the motion would be that the WES Advisory Committee recommends to the Board of County Commissioners, acting as the governing body of Water Environment Services, approval of the 25-26, 29-30 capital improvement plan as presented. And if we do get a motion of support, then as Greg mentioned, we will be presenting this CIP requesting their adoption in December or January. And so with that, any other questions that haven't been answered?
Looks like Mayor McGriff may have her hand up. No.
So just
Mayor Milch.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff, I think you mentioned that like in the Three Creeks project, you're waiting on bids, and that'll determine what the actual cost is going to be. I'm just curious, out of all this whole capital improvement plan, how much of that is put out for competitive bids by people kind of outside WES, and how much is done in-house through the regular budget that you have each year?
Well, so for construction, we will go out to bid for all of our projects. So all of our projects are competitively bid. If we, so like the IT2 force mains, an example, we did engineering. We hired a consultant to do engineering work for us. They gave us an estimate of project. We went out to bid, and the bids actually came in almost $1.8 million less than what our engineers thought it was going to cost. And so we do go out and competitively bid. I don't want to say 100% of our projects, because if we do use an alternative delivery, we would use qualifications and not price to decide who would help us build or finish design on a project of that nature, whether that's like a design build similar to what we did on the Outfall project, or so all of our projects go out to public bid of some, whether it's a qualifications or mostly cost for construction.
Right, and they go through. So we are a department of Clackamas County, and so we use the Clackamas County procurement folks to do this work, and ultimately it's the Board of County Commissioners that approve contracts and look at the bidding process and make sure that it comports with everything that it should comport with, I guess.
Well, I'm sure you're going about the process the right way. I just wondered, I know you had engineers and I know you have maintenance staff, and I just kind of wondered how it broke down. But it sounds like for the level of projects that we're talking about here, it's almost all done through the procurement process. And your own local staff engineers are helpful, I guess, in sort of predicting what these costs are going to be. When it comes to actually engineering the project itself, that will go to outsiders as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, correct me if I'm like, so we're not design engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not set up. A lot of our projects, and I'll just paint the picture as to why. So some of our projects might have electrical parts of the project, but not all of them. And so to staff up to do all in-house design, to have a design team in our organization, to multidiscipline with all the different, it's hard to keep all of those people busy 100% of the time based on our projects. And so what we do is, we have a smaller staff, and we're project engineer, project managers, essentially. So we know enough about the technical to question what the consultants are giving to us and to make sure that, you know, that we're in agreement with them. But in the end, we don't have the staff to do the full design ourselves. And so we project manage, project engineer. So I'll give an example on some things we do our own design. We have some lines we're looking at rerouting through our plant. And so we have, with our full engineering staff now, we do have the capability and capacity to do a small realignment of piping through our facility to route centrate to a different location. And so one of my engineers is drafting up plans, and we'll still go out to bid to get a contractor on board to build it, but we didn't hire a consultant to do the design work for us. We're doing that in-house. So, but it's a very small single discipline kind of project. It's not a big project. And so if there's ways to do that, to not pay consultants, then we do try to do that. And as we have a full staff for some of our stuff, for our renewal and replacement type stuff, that is the types of things we do. We just replaced some gates on our chlorine contact basins where, you know, we did all that in-house. But on our bigger major capital projects, we are project engineer, project managers, essentially.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Councilor Brake has a question.
I just wanted to comment that page 6, I really like the graphic representation of how when you're early in the design process, you apply a lot more contingency. And then as the design gets more refined, you can eliminate or reduce some of that contingency. And I think that's really helpful in giving you numbers that you can budget, that as soon as you go out to bid, you're not going to far exceed that budget because you've built in that greater contingency until you have a good design in place.
It is our goal to not have surprises as best we can.
Any other questions for Jeff or Greg or Aaron? Okay, seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion for the recommendation of the Board of County Commissioners for the approval of the CIP. As
So
noted.
moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I guess you'll take the roll, right, Chris?
I will do that. Thank you, Greg. Rita Baker.
Aye.
Christopher Bowker.
Aye.
Christina Brow.
Aye.
Councilor Brike.
Yes.
Richard Craven.
Yes.
Greg DiLoretto.
Yes.
Tony Fields.
Aye.
William Gifford.
Aye.
Councilor Golaby.
Aye.
Brian Johnson.
Aye.
Roseanne Johnson.
Yes.
Councilor Khosrabadi.
Aye.
Mayor McGriff.
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes.
Michael Morrow.
Aye.
Neil Schulman.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Did you tell me who made the motion and who made the second? Because I missed that because I can't see people's lips moving this far away in these little boxes.
Didn't Tony Fields make the motion?
Tony was the first, and then I
Okay.
heard a second from William.
William,
Okay.
correct. Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Okay, that takes us to the last item on our agenda. Any committee report outs that you want to share with the rest of the group? I know that several of us went to the the Oregon City Business Alliance
Oh, yeah.
water meeting yesterday. William was there. I was there. Rita was there. Is anybody? Oh, Councilor Brigg was there. Anybody else?
Alexa were there.
Yeah,
How
I'm sorry,
was it?
staff was there. Yes.
How
was
was
great.
it?
It was a great forum, one water kind of conversation, really, that we're having in the county. This panel did a great job. It was very enjoyable.
Unfortunately, I am apologizing in advance because to me, South Fork should have been there and they weren't. And we'll take that up at our meeting.
Any other report outs from our group? Okay, well, as Greg mentioned, this is our last meeting of the year, so happy holidays,
Wait,
everyone.
Denise has her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to report out, as I said in my text, I was eating dinner because I've got back-to-back meetings. So I'm here in Bend at the League of Oregon Cities meeting. Many of you are not from cities, but those of you who are, I will tell you that it's been very informative. Tomorrow, we're going to have a discussion about the proposed new FEMA regulations, which will affect everybody and their dog. So hopefully I'll get some information to report back. But some of the things that I've gone to so far today that relate to what we're doing have to do with the disposition of water resources. As you know, there's not a lot of water over here in Bend, and Bend keeps expanding, and I don't know where they're getting their water from. I used to live here at one time, so it's was very interesting to me. The other thing that that has to do with related to resources is that we're going to be able to talk to some of the federal folks that are here about that, and then a session that I'm moderating tomorrow, which I think affects all local governments, no matter whether they're a small water district or a city. It's government to government relations with tribal members, tribal nations. And you're all aware that a tribal government that we have here in Oregon are a separate legal entity, and they are to be consulted on all the stuff that we do. Part of the problem that the cities are having is, you know, how to approach these tribal governments. They don't have large staffs, and they are very slow to respond when you need something to happen quickly. And that's been an ongoing problem from both sides. Or they say, oh, we weren't included, or you didn't give us enough time. So not that we're going to solve all the problems today, but at least we're going to get some of these issues out so that we can have some constructive discussions about them. So that's what I am doing.
Okay, anything else from anyone? All right, if not, we are adjourned. Bye,
Yay,
everyone.
us.